Sri Gurupyo Namaha children. Welcome to Online Teaching Academy Ekalaiva. Class 11 Business Studies. Lesson 4 Business Services. So what is warehousing? It is nothing but providing storage facilities. That is, it is a storage unit. Warehouse is a storage unit. Generally, we all know once the goods are produced, they cannot be immediately sold to the consumer. For example, if you produce something in a manufacturing industries, it cannot reach the consumer the next day. It may take some time, isn't it? Same way, even in the agricultural field also, once the grains, food grains are harvested, it cannot reach the consumer immediately. They have to be stored because it may be produced in large quantity and it needs a place to be stored safely, carefully, and without losing its freshness also. So these storage units are useful in storing the quantities of goods or in storing the food grains in their original quality and value. So, to maintain their original quality, their value, and usefulness, we need storage unit that is called warehousing. So, these warehouses are used to store various goods in an orderly manner to preserve their quality, value, and usefulness. It not only provides storage facilities but also logistic services. That is, the goods which are stored in the warehouses are transported to the various places by the warehousing authority also. So they provide these services also to the consumers. So actually today's warehouses are automated with the automatic conveyors, computer operated cranes, and lifts for moving goods, and also the usage of logistics automation softwares for warehouse management. So now previously the goods will be moved to the warehouse manually and it will be piled in stakes on the floor, and then they will be used by the importers or exporters or customs authority, etc., in India. But nowadays warehouses have ceased to be a mere storage service providers and they have become logistical service providers also in a cost efficient manner. So warehousing helps for the products to be available in the right quantity at the right place and in the right time. And then what are the types of warehouses we have? The first one is private warehouses. So these warehouses are operated, owned, and leased by a company handling their own goods. Okay, so those who have manufacturing industries, they may have their own warehouses to store their products. So the private warehouses means the private individuals, they themselves own their warehouses to store their products in the warehouses. So what is the benefit of this private warehousing? This include control. Since they own their own warehouse, they have control on them and flexibility of operations and other benefits like improved dealer relationships. So owning a private warehouse is always better. So we have a control on them, flexibility of operations, and improved dealer relationships. Then what are the public warehouses? So these can be used for storing goods by traders. That is, common public can store their goods in the public warehouses. That is, those who cannot build a separate warehouse on their own can use these public warehouses. Actually, these public warehouses are run by an agent, that is given by the government. That is, the license will be given by the government to an agent, and agent is responsible for taking care of the public warehouses. So the government regulates the operation of these warehouses by issuing licenses. So the agent will be provided license by the government, and the agent of that public warehouse is responsible for taking care of the goods which are stored in the public warehouses. So it can be used by traders, manufacturers, or any member of the public after the payment of a storage fee. So for storing their goods in these public warehouses, they have to pay a certain amount of charges to the agent. Okay. So the government regulates the operation of these warehouses by issuing licenses for them to private parties. The owner of the warehouse stands as an agent, and he is expected to take care of the goods. He is expected to take appropriate care of the goods. So the owner of the warehouse stands as an agent of the owner of the goods, and he is expected to take appropriate care also. So other than these services, these public warehouses provide um, some services like packaging, labeling, branding. These are called value added services. So, value added services are also provided by these public warehouses. And even they provide the transportation facilities also. Uh, Take an example of rail transport and road transport also can be provided by public warehouses. Then we will move on to public warehouses services. That is, they are responsible for the safety of goods. That is, the goods which are stored in the public warehouses have to be taken care by the agent who are licensed by the government. And these provide facilities like transportation by rail and road. Some value added services are also provided by the public warehouses. They are very convenient for small manufacturers, because that is the small manufacturers who could not build a separate warehouse for their products, they can use this public warehouses. That is, who cannot afford to construct their own warehouses, they can avail this public warehouses. Then bonded warehouses. So bonded warehouses, they are licensed by the government to accept the imported goods. So the imported goods are stored in the bonded warehouses prior to payment of tax and customs duty. So the importers who are importing goods from other countries have to pay the tax and customs duty to the government. So before they pay the taxes, they cannot take their goods for sale to other persons. So till that time, till they pay the tax and customs duties, the imported goods can be stored in the bonded warehouses. And these are goods which are imported from other countries. Importers are not permitted to remove the goods from the docks or the airport till the customs duty is paid. So, till the customs duty is paid, these goods, these imported goods, can be stored in the bonded warehouses. Sometimes the importers may not be in a position to pay the import duty in full, or sometimes they may not require the goods to be taken immediately. During those periods, these imported goods can be stored in the bonded warehouses. So the goods are kept in bonded warehouses by the customs authorities till the customs duty is paid. So when the goods are under the custody of bonded warehouses, before the duty is paid, the goods are said to be in bond. And even bonded warehouses also provide facilities for branding the goods, packaging, grading, blending. All these facilities are provided by the bonded warehouses. And these warehouses allows the customers to inspect the goods. That is, generally the buyer wanted to inspect the goods before they purchase it. So these bonded warehouses allow for the inspection of goods. Once the goods are opened for showing to the customers, it has to be repacked, isn't it? So that repackaging is also done by the bonded warehouses. So it helps for marketing of goods also. So they have facilities for branding, packaging, grading. And another thing, these goods can be removed in part. It is not necessary that whatever goods have imported by the importer, it has to be fully taken by him at once. It can be removed from the bonded warehouses in part as and when required by the importers and buyers. So the buyers are allowed to inspect the goods also within the bonded warehouse, and this import duty can be paid in installments also. So bonded warehouse helps to facilitate entrepot trade. What is this entrepot trade? That is, goods are imported for exporting. This is called a entrepot trade. This is also possible when the goods are kept in the bonded warehouses. Then what is government warehouses? So government warehouses are fully owned and managed by the government. It is fully owned by the government, managed by the government. The government manages them through the organizations set up in the public sector. We can say the example of Food Corporation of India, State Trading Corporation, Central Warehousing Corporation. All these come under government warehouses. And then cooperative warehouses, some marketing cooperative societies or agricultural cooperative societies have set up their own warehouses for members. So the members of this cooperative warehouses can store their goods in the cooperative societies. And even it is allowed for other people also. They have to pay certain amount of money for storing their goods in the cooperative warehouses. And we will move on to the functions of warehousing. So one first function is consolidation. So what is consolidation? The warehouse receives and consolidates, that is, it assembles. The assembling duty is done in the warehouses. So it consolidates the materials or goods from different production plants. So the warehouse may receive goods and materials from various plants. So then what it has to do? It will consolidate. First, it will assemble and dispatches the same to a particular customer on a single transportation shipment. Here you can see this is the warehouse. So for a warehouse, from plant A and from plant B and from plant C, various materials have arrived to the warehouse. So what the warehouse functions here, how the warehouse functions, it consolidates and dispatches the goods to customer A and customer B and customer C. So consolidation function is done in the warehouses. Then break the bulk. So goods generally will arrive to the warehouse in a large quantity. For example, plant A sends its goods to warehouse in a bulk quantity. So that bulk quantity is being divided and it is breaking the bulk quantity, and whatever is needed by customer A and customer B and customer C is distributed to these customers in the warehouses. So the dividing, breaking the bulk quantity and making them in smaller quantities, arranging them in smaller quantities is also done in the warehousing. So this is dividing the bulk quantity of goods received from the production plants into smaller quantities and distributing to the customers is also done in the warehouses. So these smaller quantities are transported according to the requirements of clients. So breaking the bulk quantity is also done in the warehouses. Then stockpiling. The next function is stockpiling. Goods or raw materials which are not required immediately. For example, if you take woolen clothes or sweaters, they may be required during the winter season. They may not be required during summer season. So during that period, it will be stored in the warehouses. That stock will be piled in the warehouses. That is, the goods which are not required immediately for sale or manufacturing are stored in the warehouses. So stock piling function is also done in the warehouses. Same way, seasonal storage of goods is also done in the warehouse. Goods of raw materials which are not required immediately, it may be required little later, means they can also be stored in the warehouses. So they are made available to business depending on the customer's demand. Then value added services are also done in the warehouses. So what are that value added services? That is, goods are packed, they were labeled and are provided at the time of inspection of the buyers also. Whenever the buyer comes to the warehouse, the persons who are there in the warehouses, they open the packages and they show the package, they show the products to the customers. So for the inspection purpose also, inspection by the buyers also is possible in case of warehouses when the goods are stored in the warehouses. So goods are opened and repackaged again. Then value added services like packaging, labeling is also done in the warehouses. So grading and dividing goods in smaller lots is another function of warehouses. And price stabilization. How price stabilization is possible? Because by adjusting the supply of goods, when the goods are stored in the warehouses, we can supply it whenever it is demanded in the market. So according to the demand situation, when we store the goods in the warehouses, we are able to supply the goods to the market. So the price will be maintained, the price will be stabilized. So warehousing performs the function of stabilizing prices. That is, the demand can be met by the supply of goods from the warehouses if we store it in the warehouses. Then financing. Warehouse owners advance money to the owners on the security of goods and further supply goods and goods on credit terms to customers. So warehouse owners advance money to the owners of the goods. So once you can, that is, the owner of the goods can get advance money from the owner of the warehouse also. And they can get credit terms. They are providing credit terms. Warehouses provide credit terms to the customers also. So this is another function of warehousing. Okay, children, we have come to the end of the schedule, this lesson. Thank you, children. We will meet in the next class. Subscribe button. Press the subscribe button to get the latest videos from our YouTube channel, children. Thank you.